That could be the land of the aliens. Maybe we're the aliens. Maybe the outer perimeter has even more life forms and resources and inhabitable land. As we go through this transitioning, this big mass awakening, I'm sure some of you can already feel it and sense it. More and more of you guys are going to come to your own truths faster and faster than ever before. We have our toroidal fields. These electromagnetic fields protect and separate all the lands. They also oscillate at different speeds, giving us all our rotations of the different planets. Next, the suns and moons are put in place. 3 suns, 3 moons, with Mercury in the middle, acting as both a sun and a moon. And there you have it, Earth, the universe, within a multiverse, within a masterverse. We can't get past lower Earth orbit. That's that first toroidal field to the lands of Mars and Venus. The Antarctic is not the South Pole. The Antarctic is the perimeter around that first toroidal field. When they talk about alien life forms or other life forms, it means coming from these other lands. So who knows what's beyond those perimeters? That could be the land of the aliens. Maybe we're the aliens. Maybe the outer perimeter has even more life forms and resources and inhabitable land. Maybe some of us already get to go there. One thing's for sure, if this is true, I could see why they'd want to hide it. The resources on these planes. Next, chaos, panic. The elite have done a great job at the divide and conquer campaigns over the last generations. Now it's down to gender wars, identity wars, regional wars, resource wars, and the most important, the war on your mind, body, soul, spirit, perceptions, indoctrination of who you think you should become and what you should spend your life doing. We're not unified, and that's the last thing they want. This scares some people. This makes others laugh. They'll continue believing we're spinning on a ball, defying all kinds of logistics. But okay. The cool thing though is we're having a mass awakening. All the holy books pretty much tell this same story, just giving all the variables and planets and suns and moons their own names and actors and stories to go by. Being in the arts for the last 25 years, well, my whole life really, but professionally for 25 years, I understand one thing's for sure about music, art, feelings, and this world itself, and that's frequencies and oscillations. And we all come from a sine wave, operate in oscillations and cycles, and so does this planet. It breathes, it goes through cycles, it goes through patterns. The suns and moons go through multiple oscillations at the same time. This model also explains lunar and solar eclipses rather easily, rainbows, color theory, etc. also rather easily. The point of this, if any, don't let it scare you, even if all of it is true. If anything, this should help you at least gain some knowledge, become a little more illuminated, and understand your life, your body, your mind, your soul is also a big oscillation machine, and you should be oscillating every single day at your full potential. So that if this next life, previous life, we are our own ancestors thing is true, you can ascend in your next lifetime to becoming your own star of stars.
I had my eyes closed, my ignorance was bliss, but then it died slow as I replaced it with my fist. Now I'd rather know and rise from this abyss. Now that I'm aware that I'm infinite consciousness, I had my eyes closed, ignorance was bliss. Now I'm being followed for spreading these messages. The threats might be hollow, our response serious. I reject Rain Man and umbrellas still get wet. I had my eyes closed. Closed, my ignorance was bliss, but then it died slow as I replaced it with my fist. Now I'd rather know and rise from this abyss. Now that I'm aware that I'm infinite consciousness, I had my eyes closed, ignorance was bliss. Now I'm being followed for spreading these messages. The threats might be hollow, our response serious. I reject Rain Man and umbrellas still get wet. I had my eyes closed.
can see that there is such thing as space. However, it's not to go to other planets up there, it's to go to outer lands beyond our perimeter. Why can't we go to the perimeters? This is why right here. These are called toroidal fields. You guys know them as the Van Allen belts. There are 5 toroidal fields that separate the lands and give each its own ecosystem, its own sun and moon, and give each its own atmosphere and rotate and oscillate to give the Earth its breathing system. Okay, this allows the whole orb to breathe in and out. And these toroidal fields protect each perimeter, or we can call them districts. So we are on the center one, and you'll see 4 here with a tiny one in the center of our Earth, which is the North Pole. Okay, there is an actual polar field there. There is actual energy there. Compasses get pulled there. So let's take a closer look. These electromagnetic fields all oscillate at different speeds. So if we go by this theory, then the sun is traveling around us at around 1,000 miles an hour. And the other stars are also traveling in their respective speeds in their own perimeters. The second perimeter with Mars is 67,000 miles an hour, and the outer perimeter is close to 500,000 miles an hour. So all of these have their own oscillations, both the actual rings and the actual planets or sun and moons within them. Each of these lands, each of these rings has 4 atmospheres to go along with it. And that is the troposphere on the bottom part, the stratosphere just above us, the mesosphere, and then the thermosphere. And again, going back to the vortex that spins from above and below is what gives all of these their oscillations. We're going to talk more about oscillations a little later because they are very, very important. Okay, so now let's break down the planets. Each land has its own sun and moon. Mercury, which is the very center of centers of everything in the North Pole, is both a sun and moon. Okay, it is both, therefore we're not counting it here. We're saying there's 3 suns and 3 moons, man and woman, left and right, positive, negative. Each land has its own ecosystem. This is where the theory of extraterrestrials or extra terrain, extra land, come from. The outer ring may also be where dinosaurs, creatures, aliens, again, a different ecosystem, different light sources, colors, air, breath, everything is different. So, when they say they're trying to explore outer space, it doesn't really mean up, because those are luminaries, those are stars, those cannot be landed on. They mean outer lands beyond the perimeters known as the South Pole or the Antarctic. And here we see 3 going around in circles. Now some are oscillating faster than others, but they're all generally going in a circle. And they are now going to oscillate in a lot of different ways as well. Here you see the original oscillation to the different types of patterns you can create while doing your big oscillation. So this is a double oscillation. And here you can see that all the planets are also moving up and down over their oscillations as well. So we have a big oscillation, then a pattern within that as a secondary oscillation, then we're moving up and down as a third oscillation, and they're changing patterns over time and could be adding and removing other oscillations. And I do think we are in a special time. It's not just, let's prove the Earth is flat. What's beyond that? So what if it is? Well, what might be outside those perimeters? Maybe there are things we need to protect ourselves from. And or maybe it is just a bunch of land we cannot get to, but Every country, every government would love to chop it up, carve it up, because there's so many precious resources out there. So of course, me showing you this stuff's probably making you reject it instinctively, because your whole life you've been told we're living on a ball that's spinning in outer space, in infinity. And in part, some of that might be true. Singularity could be the Big Bang. Our whole universe might well be flying through infinite void. But our actual land that we live on, well, I'll let you be the judge. Or you've ended up on this video because you've already discovered your own truth. So what I'm trying to say, when you do listen to frequencies, watch movies, do your day-to-day, take in 5,000 logos, 400 cents, 300 people's eye contact, and energies overlapping yours, think about what your purpose in this life is. Because my goal is to help you guys ascend to a higher state of consciousness, become illuminated, and you too are nothing but a big oscillation machine. When you breathe in and out, that's oscillating. When you walk, your whole body is oscillating. When you sleep, you're going through a cycle. Everything about us is oscillating, and you should be oscillating to your full potential in this beautiful universe. In between the 4th and 5th toroidal fields is where the firmament sits. This is where all the stars are attached and fixated as they do their oscillation as well. This firmament is what prevents us from going up. In fact, there's footage online of rockets being sent up by independent teams, and you can clearly see it hit something up there before coming back down. Now, if you look up Operation Fishbowl and Operation High Jump, you'll come across some interesting information regarding the efforts that the governments have put in to try to get through the firmament. All the holy books were simply metaphorical stories to explain exactly what I just showed you. I don't believe they were actual people. I believe they were depicting everything you see here, and all the variables were given their own characters. I'm going to stick to the Bible here, just to give you guys a couple random examples, and then please refer to any of it for yourselves to see if you can pinpoint the metaphor. When they say Jesus died on the cross, that is a metaphor for Jesus is Christ. Christ represents consciousness. Consciousness died on the cross. The cross is the crux, again, the cross section, the middle point of middle points. And if we look at the cross in a 3D format, you'll notice it's not a plus symbol. The center horizontal piece is moved up because on the universe, we are not in the center of centers, we are up a little bit on that third plane, right? So when consciousness died at the cross section of our universe, that is the North Pole. And when they say follow the North Star, that is Polaris. And the birth of Jesus is also under the North Star. The very center of the first toroidal field inside is known as the Garden of Eden. That is a holy place. That is a spiritual place. So when Christ was crucified, consciousness ascended into the heavens through the moons, because you come in through the suns and you leave through the moons, ascended into heaven, and 3 days later was reborn. Again, a metaphor for reincarnation, or your next cycle, your next life. This is where past lives, future lives, we are our own ancestors, etc., comes from as well. Also, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit derives from this too. Pretty much every single thing you see in the holy books, it's a story and a metaphor to explain one of these variables in this beautiful universe. People in ancient times simply had this knowledge and again told it to us in story format, or in book format, or in holy book format. There is a creator, something designed this thing, be it a simulation of a simulation, or a great designer, a god, a greater being. And not to mention, they'd have to finally fess up that they've been lying this whole time and give us full disclosure, which may well happen. It's actually an exciting time as more people wake up. There's a lot to explore, there's a lot to learn, and it's amazing to finally realize we don't know that much about ourselves or where we live, at least not most of us. I always thought there must be some order, it's not just all chaos and random, and this was my final missing link to that thinking. There very well may be other life forms out there, aliens or whatever, but they're depicted very negatively, low frequencies, ugly creatures. They may be way ahead of us and looking at us as the aliens or the pests, the destructive species that can't even get into their own harmony. Keep them away from us, could be what they're saying. Never really know. So what's after this? Well, they say if you lived out your karma properly, you ascend. If not, you're doing this again. Is there going to be a part 2? Who knows? Hopefully, all of us will be actually living it instead of watching it on your screens. I still believe I've made it to where I've made it to in life because I've challenged everything and I've not been definitive with my thinking, especially when it comes to belief systems, politics, the way I oscillate in this lifetime, and how I spend my time and resources and efforts to try to achieve my goals. As we go through this transitioning, this big mass awakening, I'm sure some of you can already feel it and sense it. More and more of you guys are going to come to your own truths faster and faster than ever before. So if anything, I'd love for you guys to at least keep an open mind to this and anything that is presented in front of you as fact and definitive. If you can't touch it yourself, explore it yourself, see it yourself, not just on a television screen, not just through news, not just through an organization, be it government or not, then don't just blindly believe it just because you've been told something your whole life. It doesn't make it true. But do your own research. And the 5 most important words that I don't think they want me telling you, they're simple. All you need is love.